As COVID-19 continues to have an impact on all areas of our lives, including on our kids' education. And to join us now for the last 15 minutes or so of the show, we are pleased to be joined once again by our good friend Ken Gutman, the Superintendent of Schools over in the Walled Lake Consolidated School District. Ken, thank you for being with us today.
Tyler, it is always a pleasure to be here, and thanks for the invitation.
Appreciate having you on. So as we're continuing going through this summer and planning for the fall, a few weeks ago things were looking really up, really sunny for the fall as things began to reopen. COVID-19 cases were continuing to stay low in the state. Now it's a different situation as more concerns grow regarding the Delta variant. How has that impacted or potentially changed plans in the Walled Lake Consolidated School District in anticipation for fall?
Thank you, Tyler. You're leading with probably the question that's on most people's minds. We did send a letter home in the last couple of weeks letting parents know that we do fully intend to make masks optional. But when I say optional, I mean recommended but not required. Semantics matter, words matter. Ultimately, we do recommend that people wear masks. We are not requiring them. But there have been changes over the last couple of weeks. To our knowledge, they haven't been significant. We're still not a high-risk state. I will say this, we monitor this daily. We watch the cases. We look for guidance from MDHHS and obviously from the CDC. At this point, we're still looking at recommended, not required. We do have a call-in to verify. We've been told that there's a belief that we do need to require masks on buses as public transportation. Okay. So we're seeking guidance on that and hope to give that to our community soon.
Ken Gutman joins us on the Oakland County Megacast. He is the superintendent of the Walled Lake Consolidated School District. Let's talk a little bit about vaccination as well. As we head into the fall semester and in-person learning will resume in Walled Lake in some capacity or another, is there any discussions right now through the school district or any requirements that may be in place to require educators and or students to be vaccinated in order to return to the schools?
No, I think what you'll find in just about every school district, if not every school district, is there is no requirement for vaccinations. There's a personal choice if people choose to be vaccinated. Certainly, I understand the state may be at about 70% right now, which does help. But from the local level, from the school district level, no, we're not requiring vaccination.
For those that may be interested, and I don't know if you maybe are able to dispel this information, how is the vaccination rate throughout the employment base, particularly the educators in your school district?
Yeah, my understanding is it's very high. I would have to verify our latest numbers, but as of last spring, our understanding is the employees of the district, it was a really high rate.
We're joined by Ken Gutman here on the Oakland County Megacast, Superintendent of the Walled Lake Consolidated School District. And as many school districts do over the summer, they make improvements to their buildings and prepare for the best possible situation for their students, for their educators, and for their other faculty as well as they head into the fall. Walled Lake has made a number of improvements as a result of $316 million in building infrastructure and equity bonds that were passed in November of 2019. What are some of those changes that families can expect to see throughout Walled Lake schools in the fall?
We are so grateful to our community, Tyler, to pass such a large bond and a tax decrease, by the way. It's worth noting that we were able to raise that money while we're decreasing taxes from where they were. Some improvements to the buildings to provide equity and access to buildings. So in some of our elementary schools, what you'll see is you'll see a gym addition in 3 of our elementary schools over the course of this bond. Those 3, that brings them into an equitable situation with the rest of our elementary schools. You'll see a brand new Dublin Elementary school at the end of this bond. And if you've driven by Dublin Elementary in White Lake, the construction is ongoing. The new Dublin Elementary School is going to be a beautiful building, and it was being built on the same site as the current Dublin Elementary. We promise nothing but inconvenience over the next couple of years as we construct on the same site. But in the end, we'll have a great setting for our students. We'll have a brand new Walled Lake Western High School, and not entirely we're adding on, but significantly altering the look of Walled Lake Western. You'll see it be a more equitable building in terms of instructional delivery in other areas, as our other 2 high schools. Also, what you'll see is a brand new early childhood center. We're very excited about this. If you drive down 13 Mile Road between Novi Road and M5, it's coming up fast. We hope to have it sealed in soon, closed off. The roof is up. And this will give our youngest learners an opportunity to begin in a really positive way in our district with our staff in one location or a couple of locations, actually, but the primary location on 13 Mile Road will be a great start for our staff. One more, Tyler, and I don't want
Sure.
to dominate everything we do here with this, but we're also going to make sure that every school has some upgraded systems, some of the not so sexy stuff, right? Some of HVAC, that we're going to make sure that our roofs are in good repair, some parking lots, and also that we're replacing a lot of furniture throughout our schools to have more collaborative types of settings for our students. We called it a little bit more of a Starbucks feeling in our classrooms, in a lot of our classrooms, but kind of representing the work environments most people encounter today, that they don't end up sitting in rows in their work environment, facing forward.
Education's changed in recent years, and we have seen in other school districts that have implemented such systems such as those that it has had an impact on the education of kids. So has COVID-19, so has the virtual learning over the past year and a half or so that we've been involved in this pandemic. So as we're looking forward to the fall semester, what are some changes educationally that parents and students can expect as they return to the classroom?
Sure, absolutely. So we offered a virtual option, and we did not have a huge response. I think a lot of people were ready to have their students come back in person. Now, that doesn't mean everyone. At our secondary level, we have 7 secondary buildings, 4 middle schools and 3 high schools. And we had about 50-something parents who were interested in returning their students to virtual. The difficulty with that is it's really hard to staff at a secondary level with numbers that low. So we did offer a couple of options at the elementary and the secondary that go through Oakland schools. And so we are not directly running those, but we will have our staff involved in those programs. It's just it becomes a staffing issue. A lot of people want to return in person, and we're going to accommodate that. Certainly, again, we're watching the numbers day by day, and we'll see what happens. It's our full intention to return people back to in-person learning, to have a positive learning environment, and to provide our children the very best education we can.
Superintendent Gutman, are there any limitations or any deadlines for parents and students if they do want to pursue either virtual education or in-person education for the fall that they need to let the school district know about?
Yeah, we did send something out a while ago with a deadline. The deadline has passed for virtual, but certainly if someone wants to reach out to us and they're having some concerns, we're certainly willing to look at those on an individual basis to see if we can accommodate any requests. And we understand this is a fluid situation, Tyler.
Yeah, and I know that we've asked this in the past, because it's got to be a concern going into this year, especially after we've seen, in some ways, the smoothness and in some ways not smoothness of hybrid learning. What's going to happen with snow days in the next school year? Are we still going to have snow days, or are those going to be sudden virtual days?
Now you're asking the tough, important questions students want to know. So there is something to be said about the traditional snow day, and there are points of the year where everybody really could use a break. My intention is if we're going to have some snow days potentially if the weather it justifies them. However, if you get severe weather for a week, 2 weeks, long periods or multiple days, then it's time to start looking at some hybrid learning and make sure we can provide education for our students. I'm not opposed to a couple of days of snow days, but I also don't want to lose the instructional opportunities we have.
And to speak about opportunities and potential for lost opportunities, over the course of the pandemic, many school districts, including yours, did provide some technological systems to students and families that maybe didn't have equitable access to the internet or to computers in order to continue their education. And in today's modern education, the internet and computers and other devices are critical to education. What is the Walled Lake School District doing, if anything, to continue going forward, helping these families as they're coming out of the pandemic continue to have access potentially to that technology and to the internet in order to put their best foot forward so their kids can get as great of an education as possible in Walled Lake?
Yeah, the equity of access is a huge deal. We want to make sure that we have opportunities for each and every one of our students, regardless of other conditions in their lives. Ultimately, we've retained the devices we used last year. We certainly will have them available, and we'll work through our principals to make sure that there's an equitable distribution when necessary.
Ken Gutman joins us on the Oakland County MegaCast, the superintendent of the Walled Lake Consolidated School District. And as people return to the classroom, some people in the Walled Lake School District are exiting, and one of those people that are leaving is longtime employee, 19-year employee Judy Evola, who is the longtime director of community relations and marketing for the Walled Lake Consolidated School District. Ken, anything that you want to say about her service to the school district over the nearly 20 years she has been with Walled Lake?
Yeah, thank you for that opportunity. We had an opportunity to celebrate her as we closed out the year, but I can't thank her enough. Judy Avola was a fixture in our school district. She was passionate about education, passionate about children, passionate about communication, and so we certainly will miss her in Walled Lake Schools. You don't easily replace 19 years of experience, and I think there's a little bit of a shock when people don't get an email from her on a pretty regular basis, but we're grateful for Judy's leadership, and again, we will miss her.
Yeah, Judy's been very helpful with us here at the MegaCast as well, booking not only yourself but others from the Walled Lake Consolidated School District to continue to keep your parents, your students, your family, and your faculty up to date on everything that's going on in Walled Lake as we've continued to navigate through a really tough year with a lot of changes along the way. So we definitely appreciate all the help from Judy Evola. We've been joined by Ken Gutman, the Superintendent of the Walled Lake Consolidated School District. Ken, just another couple minutes with you before we say goodbye today. Anything else that you'd like to speak about today, or anything else that would be important for families in the Walled Lake School District to know?
Sure. A couple of things. One is I do want to let you know that we have a wonderful new communications director, Vildana Kurtovich, who has a great background in not just in hotels and as their PR person in Manhattan and Atlanta, but also for a private university in Austria. She brings a wealth of experience. She's learning the K-12 environment, but she'll be great and she'll be happy to work with you as well. I also want our families to know we're listening and we care, and we know these are challenging times. We know that every decision we make, for example, masks and that sort of thing, we know that there's a significant number of people who will not like the decisions either way. But we're certainly going to make the best decisions we can on behalf of our children. We're excited about this school year. We're ready to get started. We can't wait to have people back. We can't wait to educate. We know that we're still not in a normal environment. We hope we're closer to the end than the beginning. We're just grateful for the opportunity to have the trust of our community in looking out for children and making sure we provide them the very best that we can on an individual and a group basis.
Ken, if parents or students have any questions as we approach the fall semesters, we get closer to that first day of school, what's the best way they can reach out to your office or reach out to the school district?
The best way when there are questions about any of this is to reach out to Vildana Kurtovich. She'll make sure that the emails are reached by the right people, and that depending on whose area of expertise it is, we will respond. So Vildana Kurtovich is our Director of Community Relations and should be on our website by now.
Well, Ken, we definitely appreciate, as always, having you on the show today, and thank you for being with us.
It is always a pleasure. Again, thank you very much, Tyler.